It's a new year, which means you better not make these prospecting mistakes.
It's a new year, so you definitely want to stay on top of these trends.
It's a new year, so you gotta get up on these top sales resources. That's right, it is in fact a new year, which means it's a new funnel to fill. How are you gonna make that happen? Find out today on Full Funnel. Hey everyone, I'm Raj Nation, he's Tyler Lessard, and this is Full Funnel, the weekly show that can be spelled entirely using symbols on the periodic table of elements, if you were to spell it wrong. Full Funnel is the only show on SalesFeed where we break down 3 hot topics happening in the world of sales in under 10 minutes. Ready? Let's go. Top Funnel. Different year, same responsibilities, only now the scoreboard is set back to 0. So how do you make sure you're not playing catch up in February by booking up your pipeline in January? Tyler, what do you got for me?
The bad news is you're not the only one who's going to be trying to fill it up in January. You're going to be competing with even more noise than usual as sellers try to get ahead on their own pipeline, which means you are going to need to stand down even more than ever before. Start leaning into video as part of your prospecting. It is such a simple idea, but most sellers still aren't making it a core part of how they reach out. It allows you not just to stand out from the noise, but to actually create a connection. Imagine that, a real personal connection that you can use to stimulate a conversation or even get a quick no thanks that hopefully you can turn into an actual dialogue.
I know for a lot of people, video may still be intimidating. That's why I recommend, if you are feeling pretty video shy, get started where video is not the first touch point. Have an email sequence, and maybe your second or your third follow-up is you sending them a video in their inbox, essentially recapping what you already wrote. That'll make it way easier for you to record the video and not feel like you hit record and then you're like, what do I say? And then you do a million retakes of it. This is the 1 month all year where literally every salesperson on the planet is at their peak motivation to actually do their job and not push prospecting to the side. What you're gonna see in a lot of inboxes is emails that start with, "Hey Tyler, Happy New Year!" or "Hey Tyler, hope you had a nice holiday." And that's gonna stretch through the first 3-4 weeks of January. Some weirdos are saying Happy New Year into like deep February. If you wanna cut through, remember what's in that first line is gonna be in the inbox preview. So maybe don't start with Happy New Year. Maybe don't start with hope you had a nice holiday. And if you feel like that's rude, drop it in the PS at the end of your email. Mid-fun.
There's a big difference between being a seller who knows their product and being a seller who knows and understands their industry. And the way your prospects look at you and the chances that they want to do business with you just might depend on which one of those you come across as.
If you want to succeed this year, become very, very attuned to what's happening around you. These are what top sellers do. They're able to pull in the more macro trends that are happening beyond the industry and then even some of the micro trends within the industry. Just a few days ago, the LinkedIn news team published an article that was called The 29 Big Ideas That Will Shape Our World in 2022. And so I immediately clicked on that because I'm like, I want to know what are some of the things that are happening that might even be ancillary to what I'm doing that I can weave into my sales conversations. Because if you can speak to your prospect at a level where you're almost able to teach them stuff about what's happening right in front of their eyes almost that they may not realize, they're gonna look at you with so much more respect, so much more trust, and they're gonna want to do business with you because they look at you as a thought leader. So make sure that when you are out there, you're able to know not just what is your company doing, but what are the shifts that are happening in the industry and what might that mean for how your prospect is going to have to make decisions over the next 3, 6, 9, and 12 months. Now, Tyler, as a head of marketing yourself, I'm actually curious to hear your perspective on how does like a marketing team aid a sales team in being able to have information on these trends?
Well, there's a number of different ways that we think about how do we distill the key, not only challenges, but opportunities that are taking place within a space. And how do we convert that into interesting stories, interesting dialogues, interesting questions that we can be asking to our communities. As marketers, we often then weave that into our blog content, into our thought leadership content, into our podcasts and series, where we are elevating the conversation and using it as a way to actually build relationships digitally with our audiences and earn their trust. And for those of you listening on the sales side, partner up with marketing. Work together to understand what are some of these big trends in our industry in the year ahead. And let's collaborate on pulling together some content, but also coming up with some new questions we could be asking our prospects based on that to stimulate new conversations.
Bottom fun. Glengarry Glen Ross popularized ABC, always be closing. But if you want to be closing, you got to ABL, always be learning. Tyler, as we head into 2022 here, what are some things that are on your radar to make sure that you're bringing in knowledge that's going to help you become a better seller?
Wow, I'm just going to listen to you to pick up some new acronyms and analogies to use throughout the year because your game is on point right now, Raj. That said, I know one of the areas that a lot of sellers focus on to be ongoing learning is listening to podcasts. And there are so many great sales podcasts out there now that I want to toss out a few that I recommend you check out in this year ahead. The first is 30 Minutes to President's Club, hosted by Nick and Armand. The best part about it, every episode focuses on hyper actionable takeaways for real sellers by real sellers. You're going to listen to an episode, you're going to jot down 3 or 4 specific ideas that you can implement right coming out of that episode. The second one I recommend you check out is one of our sister podcasts here at SalesFeed, Tales from the Field, hosted by the one and only Amy Volas. Amy speaks with other sellers about the fails, not wins, but the fails and missteps they've had in their sales careers and what they learned from those important moments. Because let's be honest, we often learn more from our mistakes than we do from our successes. It's a radically transparent, open, and honest podcast, and I absolutely adore it, and I'm so grateful that Amy took it upon herself to bring this into the market. Over to you, Raj. What kind of resources are you going to be looking at in the year ahead?
Well, Tyler, for a healthy dose of sellertainment, I have heard of this amazing media network called SalesFeed. It's got a bunch of colorful personalities, great shows, all that stuff. And I have no idea who's in charge of it or who's part of it or anything like that. I want to just recommend 2 quick things. One is I've always been a fan of the blog from Gong. They just put out like the best content that's backed by data on things you can literally do today to become a better seller. And the other one is a Substack newsletter. And then if you want to upgrade and pay, I just did it and I recommend you do too, because this is the Category Pirates newsletter and mini book series. What it will help you do is think through a category lens. If you can think about your job and the work you do through a category lens, it's going to make you so much better at your function. This is going to help you influence how you think about these industry trends. Overall, you're going to find the quality of conversations that you're having, you're just stepping up your game like never before.
The last thing I'm going to leave our audience with is follow and be a part of some new communities this year. I recommend communities like Rev Genius, Pavilion, Women in Sales Group, Thursday Night Sales. We actually did a great video on SalesFeed a couple of weeks ago highlighting the top 10 sales communities you might want to look at in 2022. Check the show notes for a link to that and see what might fit for you.
The close. In Top Funnel, we covered the prospecting do's and don'ts for the year ahead. Tyler's all in on video. I'm all in, at least for this month, on not opening your emails with Happy New Year.
In mid-funnel, we talked about trend mapping and the importance of not just understanding your prospects and your products, but getting ahead of the industry trends so you can become an expert not only in what you do, but in your overall category for your customers.
In bottom funnel, we covered some great resources that are going to help you in your journey this year. Communities such as Rev Genius and Women in Sales Club, and podcasts like 30 Minutes to President's Club. Our funnel is full. We hope you can get back out there now and fill up yours. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe before you head out. He's Tyler Lassard. I'm Raj Nation. You've been watching Full Funnel exclusively on SalesFeed. We'll catch you next week, and until then, Happy New Year. And remember, the early bird gets the worm, unless it's the worm, Dennis Rodman, in which case he hasn't woken up until 2 p.m.